Hi, good evening, everybody. What an awesome introduction there. I mean, I thought we could just keep that up for the next hour. I'd be quite happy watching Ettiene at work there. So welcome to our episode 17 of Motor Talk with Witzenberg. My co-host Byron Height there and Ettiene de Toit, none other than Ettiene de Toit. We've had him on the show before, speaking about his successes as a rally driver and other forms of motorsport. Well, tonight we are not going to talk about the successes, but we're going to be talking about why he was so successful. Because he mentioned something to me the last time saying that 80% of success is preparing the rally car. Well, I would assume it goes for any other race car, but we're talking about rallying tonight. And 20% is driving. So that is quite important. Baron, hi, hello to you there, Baron.
No, hello, Abdul. Hi there, Ettiene. And of course, I'd also like to thank Bevan Harris at BH Media and, of course, 435 Oils for putting everything together as well. Bevan has been magnificent in his work, and we have more videos for you tonight as well. So please stay tuned. Lots to talk about, lots to see.
Okay, I just want to welcome Ettiene. Thanks for giving up your time. I know you have two lovely children that you could have been spending time with, and you're quite a busy man. But thank you very much once again for giving up your time, because there's so much information that I know in that brain of yours. You've got so much. And if we run out of time in 1 hour, I'm sure there'll be another time somewhere we can continue with a rally prep saga as far as Ettiene is concerned. But Ettiene, over to you. I'm not going to talk a lot tonight, neither is Byron, but we're looking forward to a lot of the comments. I know there's going to be a whole lot of comments and questions tonight. We'll see as far as possible how we can answer them. But rally prep, or preparing your rally car, and that's, like you said, 80% of your success. So maybe we should start at the beginning, and I would maybe say, let's start at when you get a car. I mean, if you bought the car, if you got the car, what did you do when you just got a brand new rally car?
Yeah, look, it obviously depends on what's happening, but look, we'll get the car, we'll strip it down completely to bare shell, and then we'll build it over to basically see what is the ins and what is the outs. We were very fortunate to get cars from Motorsport, from Toit Motorsport, so they would tend to be basically 99 to 100%. But the main thing is basically to rebuild them, is to learn yourself basically when you end up in a stage and something breaks or something happens or you hit this or that happens, whatever the case may be. Look, if a motor breaks, it breaks, you phone your service crew, they come and collect you. But any mechanical things on the suspension and things like that you can still avoid. But prepping your car is basically 80% of your rally. I don't think we've ever broken down in the stage over all these years. There might be things like, the clutch, we've ruined the clutch, or this broke or that broke. Things do break. But out of prepping, we basically won most of our championships. And if I say that is, we knew that when we go into a rally or to an event, we know that there's new clutches in, we know there's new control arms in. We did tend to change more than what we were supposed to, but it's always better to, how's it, Jonna? It's always better to basically, start fresh and start with new parts. And obviously, if you can afford it, if your budget allows it, that's always the main thing. So winning a championship without a budget, that's also it's difficult. We are very fortunate to be backed by good companies all over through all the years, and that's also basically one key element to any success. So, but prepping, yes, prepping is a big thing for any motorsport, basically.
Okay, so you take a brand new car that comes from Toyota Motorsport, you strip it down completely, and then you rebuild it. That's brilliant. So let's just say you go into a rally. Now, just assume whatever rally you're gonna do. So let's say the rally is in you finish the one rally now, and the next one when the next rally is.
Yeah.
So what is your preparation? Take us through the whole process of preparation from.
The car will basically go onto the trailer. The team will basically take it back to the workshop, to the warehouse, and it'll be cleaned to the T. That's something Serge Damso always taught us back in the days when we were little, is you do not work on a dirty car, first of all. So that car would be spotless. It'll be like a car from a showroom that you'll buy at Toyota. Then there's a lot of little tricks and secrets and things like that, but the basic things will be everything will come out. Motor will come out, gearbox will come out, wiring loom will stay unless you had a problem with your loom or with electrics and stuff like that, which you had to go find. That'll stay. But basically your big components, your shocks, that'll come out. That'll be opened and cleaned and re-oiled and sealed and put back into the vehicle. And then you would, it's funny things, but you'll basically put your car into the workshop, switch off all the lights, and put those old, what do you call it, like the garage lights, on the lead lamp. You'll put that into the vehicle. You'll look for any hair cracks on your body that might be somewhere, because water can then come in. Your tires and rims, everything will come off. You will basically take all your rims, refurbish them, put all the new corner weights on the tires because of vibrations. You don't want vibrations on a gravel road because that's a vibration enough. That also obviously leads to other little small technical issues where if the car rattles too much with a wheel that's not balanced, for example, you can hurt a lot of suspension parts because there's already so much tension on them, whilst you're driving, because we take them through their paces, and that's you need to change them. But prepping, it's basically you strip the car, you strip it to bare bone. Obviously, you leave your loom and your dashboard and things like that because nothing can go wrong. Well, in theory, if there's nothing wrong, you don't scratch there. But taking out all that stuff, you basically find things where you never had a problem, but all of a sudden they would be, oh shit, I didn't know about that. It's an occurring thing that could have happened the next event. So you pretty much, it's like having vitamins. You drink vitamins to basically to maintain yourself, and that's the whole thing on prepping. Taking out as much as possible, going through everything with a little hair comb, and just taking your time. And then prior to the event, there's a tick list, and you have to go through all those ththings and to make sure that everything is done and dusted. So then you get to the event, you start your car, it takes off the trailer, we go through service park, through scrutineering, and you start the rally, where there's a lot of, I can't say individuals, there's a lot of times where some individuals, they'll get to event and the car doesn't start, and then this breaks and that breaks. And that all goes to, just prep. It's like an athlete, doing the 100 meters. You don't do 100 meters tomorrow and not practice it prior to, your event. It's maintenance on your body. It's maintenance on your car. It's basically the same thing.
Okay, so when let's say you finish the rally now, and the next rally is in 2 months' time, do you actually take the car out somewhere and go and check the car out, or you drive the car?
Very seldom. Because when it was essays, we had, there was like sometimes 2 weeks prior to event. It didn't happen a lot, but it was 2 to 3 weeks. And you waiting for tires, you waiting for a lot of parts and stuff like that. Because the motorsport, they don't basically hold basically a stock of all the parts. A lot of it comes from Japan, from Kazoo, and it goes through their containers, and then you also wait for parts. So you tend to wait. That's motorsport, or that sport. You tend to wait for a lot of parts, and then a week prior, it'll be sometimes the day or two prior to even have to load the car to go to an event. Parts will arrive and gearboxes will be put together, and so 90% of the time you don't really have time to test, to be quite honest.
Byron?
Just my thoughts Ettiene. You came originally, you started in karting. That's your initial start, was many years ago in karting. You went through circuit racing and then into rallying. Now, coming from karting, how important was the working and the setting up of karts, and then of course race cars? The importance of that from a young age for learning about vehicle setup, and also as well coming from the circuit racing environment to the rally environment. Was there any big shocks? You come in there, you think, I know how to set up a race car, and there's a whole lot of new things to learn because now you're not in a circuit anymore. You are now on the open stages.
Yeah, look, karting, I don't remember much. My dad did most of the things. I cleaned and I cleaned and I cleaned and I cleaned my kart. That was my part, but he basically set my kart up. He was brilliant with that, and he gave me my championships in karting. But I still had to drive. But on karting, there is a lot of prep work for sure. In any motorsport, there's prep work. There's a lot of secrets in any form of motorsport, and karting basically exists out of secrets. So your next competitor doesn't know, and it's small little things. It's really, really small things on axles, on. There's a lot of things that you know you don't want the things to go out to the public, but on the track racing, it was all about, or karting was all about smoothness, because obviously you have to carry your speed through the corners, you have to get out the corners, you have to get into the corners, you can't go in too fast, you're going to go out too slow, and that's exactly the same with track racing, where it's your Kailami, it's your Kisa and all that kind of thing, it's momentum. And you learn it where you're driving. Well, I always started at the bottom and I worked myself up. It's the only way really in the sport. How you get seat time and practice. So on track racing, when we did production cars, we started with a class F, which was the Conquest, the Toyota Taz, and there you had to keep in fifth gear basically the whole circuit to get somewhere. It's a 1300, but I mean we ran those things off the clock with the speedos, that there's no more speed to go, then we just break the needle off on the speedo, so the needle actually goes past 190. But that only happened at 2 circuits. But it's track racing is smooth, and rally for me it's smooth. A lot of people go sideways of rally. They tend to enjoy themselves too much, and I enjoyed myself, watching Serge, and he taught me how to do rally. Basically, he didn't teach me motorsport, but he taught me a lot in on the rally. Prior to me even starting rally, he sat with me in the car, and he said to me, the one thing he said to me that I can remember is, you never try and be the best. You win on the last stage. You win when you're basically in your time control after the last stage. So you have to go through the last stage, get time to TC, and then you only won the rally. And you never go sideways on a rally. And that's something that I basically took in that day. And look, I did play a lot. If I know we're leading with some time and things like that, and the spectators, yes, I would tend to arrive way too fast. But I wouldn't put myself at risk for sure. I'll never do that. And obviously never put myself in a situation where I know I won't be able to get out. Sometimes you think you know everything, but you don't. And that's the thing with rally. You never should think that you are the best. It kind of bites you on the arse very quickly, and it takes one event to put you back on your pedestal. So it's smoothness. I did it in karting. We won championships over there. We did it in track. We won a lot of championships there. And the same in rally. It's smooth in, smooth out. And just feed the accelerator. And that's the only thing that works for me. A lot of people like Yanni Harvey, he loved to go sideways, but he was quick doing it, and a lot of people aren't. But you tend to put a lot of tension on your suspension, on your tires, on your sidewalls, and on things that you don't basically want. It's like Serge. I mean, a lot of people think they got the rally, and then Serge just comes back. He never lost, but he's just hanging around there and see where they make the mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what we did also on every single event. Basically, we never led from the beginning. I think I was always extremely nervous on every event, but that's a good thing, My foot used to sit on the accelerator, and people thought we had cams in a go-kart, but it was just my foot, and it just goes da, 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 da. But it's nerves, If you don't have nerves, you're not gonna. There's something wrong, You should be scared of what you're doing. It's not a toy. Do we get used to it? Yeah, we get used to it. But if you're not, if you're too confident, you're not gonna make the end of the rally, or you're not gonna make a success of it. And that's how I basically took it from day one, and I took it to the end.
Ettiene, something very interesting that you mentioned before this was what Serge told you was, once the car comes off from the rally, you wash the car spotlessly clean, then you strip the car. And you know what? That's actually dawned on me. I remember I bought my last race car from Toyota Motorsport, and I went from Cape Town, went to Joburg to pick the car up. It was the 1300 that Ettiene Roos used to campaign in. Right.
Yes.
So Dirk still got the car, by the way.
Is it washed? Have you washed it yet?
Actually, the car's stripped, completely down, stripped, skoon, kaal.
Skoon.
Yeah, and he's busy rebuilding the car. I used that engine in Gymkhana for a couple of years, which it's difficult engine to drive in Gymkhana because you got to rev that thing very high to get going.
Yeah.
But he's going to put it back in that car and he's going to do some circuit racing with the car again. But anyhow, the interesting part was when I went and picked up the car at the Toyota Motorsport in Joburg. There was a rally. They probably had just finished the rally, and there was a crashed Toyota standing in the wash bay. This car is crashed and rolled.
At the back there by the dyno.
Yes. This was unbelievable. They were busy
cleaning
this. Cleaning this car. And I myself, that car is so messed up, but this car's clean. And it just dawned on me now because they're not going to strip a car if it's full of mud and dirt and all the other nonsense. No. And you know what? That day I learned a lesson for me personally about prepping. So a dirty car, gaan nie werk nie. As crazy as it sounds. Anyhow, Baron, there's a question there from your friend.
Yes, good friend Ashfaq Dawood, of course, a very well-known circuit racer and single-seater racer. But his question is, what is the difference physically between circuit racing and rallying as a driver?
On your body, for example, look, a rally is tough. Make no mistake, it's not for the faint-hearted. But circuit racing, look, you got your door-to-door, so your concentration on door-to-door racing is exciting. I miss it a lot. So if I look on the physical part, on the mental, you tend to have a start to end game prior to even starting. Well, I always had a solution or scenario, or when I get into a scenario, I used to have the answer before I even get into it. Because I would sit prior to an event on the circuit and think that if this happens, then I'll do that. If that happens, so I've got about 1,000 odd ideas of what I'm physically going to do. So that does tend to exhaust, or you get tired of thinking. People think you sit in a race car, you don't get tired. You get dang tired. But on your body, physically, yes, on the rally, it's more harsh. It's more bump and bruising. I mean, for sure. But I think on the physical, it's difficult to say. For me, it was very similar. On the rally, my body used to be sore because of all the bumping and bruising, for sure. But on the track, I was bullied a lot, because I was small or I was young. I was always the youngest in my group, and I never really backed down. So I tend to fought quite harder than the other guys. So I think on physical side, I was exhausted on both. If that answers the question.
I think it's quite important because you obviously got to be fairly physically fit to do any type of racing. Because that your concentration, and your focus, well, especially motorsport, because you got to be focused. And I think when you're fit and you're not tired, your focus is much better, and you can think much clearer. So coming back to the rally car, Ettiene. So, I've never actually looked at a rally car like I looked at the race car, but the way that the rally car is built, let's talk about maybe the roll cage, the mounting points, the way that it's welded. Is there a big difference between that and a track car?
Yeah, look, your FIA and your MSA, you got your rules on welding, so all good. That it's track racing, depending on if the car comes. Okay, let's talk only factory cars now. So VW will have their circuit race cars, for example, welded 100% because obviously it's a safety feature. It stiffens the body. Is the body welded with additional plates to the actual body on your A, B, and your C pillar at the back? You will have on your rally car, you will have certain stronger points for sure towards you from your, if I may say, the bars that come down from your A pillar, which is on your right hand leg, your front window, side window, front beam. Excuse me. That'll go down to your feet. That'll be on a massive plate at the bottom. That plate will then go to the front struts. And that's basically just for impact, because over there, with the chances of us rolling on a rally, 200%. I mean, it's guaranteed on every event. You tend to not to obviously go that route because then you lose the championship for sure. But
you might lose your navigator.
Yeah, well, that I've lost him so many times. He always comes back. And obviously the left-hand side. Sorry, Pat. But the circuit racing, the seam welding is very important for sure. We used to, in the old days, use chromoly because obviously that was much lighter. But once again, much more expensive. So the factory teams, yes, we did have that. The privateers, no, they didn't have it, unless they basically bought one of the older vehicles from the manufacturing teams, and it goes down the scales, and then after a couple of years of the how can I say, the manufacturer or the top team, let's say the A team, they don't want the vehicle, and then they sell it down. Then yes, the semi-privateers or the privateers will have proper roll cages, but they all have to be, in theory, according to FIA or MSA, it has to be welded on a certain point. So there's very few people that do well. There's a lot of people that do roll cages, but then there's a very few, like a little handful, that actually do it very, very well. That is my wife coming back from baby duty.
After you started it, right?
Yeah, no. I just initiated it. Yeah. She basically does the final touch. But no, so the welding, yes, it's look, you can weld it as much as you want. Some people tend to want a very stiff body, but that tends to lead to tears and a lot of people look, there's a lot of tricks of the trade of the roll cage, what to do and what not to do, but there's always a beginning point, and that's just, it must be safe, 100% safe, because if that thing's not safe and you hit anything, it's got a lot to do with crumbling points on your body. So if you hit on your left front, this roll cage must do this, and it's supposed to. They all work in the sign language to help each other. So it's not just a block welded around you, definitely not. And we see that with the stunts. For an example, it's a prime example. We build roll cages that we can basically fall off a shopping mall, in theory, of 5 stories, and be very sore and have a broken rib or leg or whatever the case may be, but still be able to walk out there. So it's all about, but between rally and circuit racing, there's a few small changes, but not a lot, no. It's mostly on hardening the body for impact on rally, for sure.
Okay. Byron, you have a couple of comments that are quite interesting you to maybe look at. Just before you go to the comments, I just want to tell Niels, Niels, I believe that you're not allowed to have the next rally sprint because of the regulations. So I see it's been postponed to August sometime. That's a pity, but that's something a lot of people look forward to. So because jammer om te hoor that it's postponed, but anyhow, we can only do what we can do. Byron, over to you.
Yes, from Mike Nathan, a very renowned Cape Town or Western Cape rallyist. And he says my Corolla was a track car that was more rigid than a rally car. John Williams had the car before Surge. Surge actually, before Surge, actually to put some bars to make it flex. Yes, there we go. So Surge.
No, it took out some bars, I would assume, to make it flex.
Took out some bars, yeah. Took out some bars to make it flex. Sorry about my reading over there.
No, it's Mike's writing.
Yeah, let's just blame it on Mike. Byron, you're 100% right. It's Mike. Yeah, look, it comes down to each driver at the end of the day. Who wants more flex and who doesn't want flex. It's a lot to do with setup. How you set your vehicle up. But there's a lot of things. Evening, Gary. There's a lot of things that basically would work for me and not work for you, and then will work for Mike and not for Serge. And the way you drive it. What do you want out of the car? How you do your setup and things like that. That it all plays a key role, basically coming down to that for sure.
Okay, so Byron, anything to do? You want to talk about, ask about roll cages or something there, or strengthening points on a rally car?
Well, I think first we got some videos for tonight as well, and I think there's a nice onboard again as well that I'd actually like to show you with the camera right on Ettiene. So cool. Look at this one.
Okay. That's interesting. It looks like the All-Star rally, one of the All-Star rallies, I think.
Yeah, All-Star, I think it was 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely Patrick's footage.
Yeah. I just want to check. I mean, if your navigator weighed 20 kilos less, wouldn't you go a couple of seconds quicker?
We're not going to get into that for sure.
I mean, just
No, Patrick, look, Patrick always wanted to exercise, and he said he exercised. I believe him because mentally he was fit. But it's yes, but it also comes down to trust, and do you work with each other? Do you not work with each other? I mean, Mark Cronje, for his final championship, he basically got someone in that was, I think, 4 kilos lighter, and apparently that works for him. But at that level, yes, you need every little gram in theory, and I think the Toyotas obviously came a little bit closer to the Fords at that time due to upgrades. His Bataclan looks like an K90 because Mike is selling the K95s. That's why he's looking for publicity. But it's where were we now?
Championship. Tiara came closer to the.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, me and Patrick, we were not the smallest guys in the sport, but we were definitely not the slowest guys in the sport. And it came down to trust. If he said to me, blind rise, left, I normally used to ask him about 4,000 times prior to getting there, and then he just gets heartful and just doesn't answer me. But we trust each other, and with that trust, we can hit the guys that are half our weight easily. And it's all about trust, and
absolutely.
Yes, that does make a big difference.
No, I was just taking the mickey out of Patrick there, Byron.
Oh, no, you have to.
Funny question there before we go back on to setups and of course roll cages as Abdul had pointed out. Silly question: is it traditional English in the car or is it Afrikaans? Or mixture
a mixture of both, and then there's some additional languages. There's quite a lot of that, but I think it was. He threw it mix. I just used to yeah. I just used to acknowledge whatever comes first. If the corner comes before the English or the Afrikaans, it's immaterial. You have to hit that corner. So, but no, it was a bilingual voice inside the vehicle for sure.
Baie interessant. Okay, so we've kind of said, okay, roll cages, we've kind of done with that. The suspension, right? So you guys run fancy suspensions. Obviously, it's got to be very strong. Is it similar to race car suspensions, or much stronger, much different? Obviously, the ride heights are different. But what else can you talk about the suspension setups on rally cars as compared to race cars?
Yeah, look, track racing, it's very similar, but also very far away from each other. On the rally, you would have something where your rebound and your high speed and your low speed, and there's so many factors that play such a big different role. But your track shocks tend to be harder than the rally shocks. But then you press on your rally car, you can't even push it in because it's so stiff. So it works on a very different scale. Look, you're not going to hit the jumps with a rally car with track shocks in. It's not going to happen. You will not have a good ending to that. You would probably end up at a dentist and with a very sore neck and a lot of other things missing. But because of contact, the impact, it's just two different worlds for sure.
So obviously, I assume it's much stronger. And the way stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I noticed is that the ride heights are different, obviously, because you can't go with a low car into a bloody rally stage. It's going to be disastrous.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously we set it. Yet again, people think if the stage is rough, you will go much higher with your ride height. But depending on how your driving style is, and depending on a lot of factors that's inside the shock, because the shock is basically there's a lot of components inside of it. Depending on what shock you run, whether it's Ragers, whether it's Proflex, whether it's Drummonds, the old Australian ones, each one's got its settings, and you've got your clicks. So if your clicks are right, like we call it, there's a big difference what happens inside and not. If the rally shocks aren't set right, you can just as well basically put in Gabriel shocks. It's exactly the same. So you still have to set them correctly to perform.
So how do you, like, I mean, when you're doing a circuit races on tar, so it's kind of not as complicated because the surface is as hard as all the other surfaces. But when you go into a rally, obviously the gravel, it changes. There's gravel, there's sand, there's some stages that are like kind of gravel, tar and sand. So then how do you really actually set up your front suspension, your rear suspension? Do you guys run negative cambers? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Look, obviously, when we go from gravel to tar, we tend to have a service, and then we'll change the shocks. The shocks will stay in the car for sure. If you were part of the factory team, yes, there would be a budget for them to take it out and just to put the shocks and the struts and the calipers and like basically a kit that's set up for tar that'll just basically 3 bolts in the top and 2 at the bottom, and poof, there you go. Professional team. But majority of the people do not have that luxury. And if you don't have that luxury and you only got the shocks, you basically just drop your ride outs for sure. You do drop them, but you tend to actually make them a little bit harder because of the body roll. The car is not so low. The car is heavier than a track car for sure. And the corner weights are all democard because you've done the whole rally now basically. And when you get to that tar stage, your ride outs and there's so many factors that can make a difference. But I think setting it up with the right clicks, it's basically, us going to all-tar rally with a rally car, and still winning it. Basically settings on your shocks. There's about 4 different components on my shock per side that you can set. And that makes a world of a difference. So the car flexes, but it doesn't flex too much, so the wheel picks up. So all my weight is still 50-50 or 25% on each wheel. It's on the floor, so that I can keep my momentum. Changing the settings will then not do that and make me go understeer or oversteer. So, but I like oversteer on circuit, just purely because the all-tars are really just for me for fun. And that's, we just did it for fun, basically. We were going to win for sure. But did we play more on all-tar than on a normal rally? Yes, we did.
Absolutely.
Just quickly, Ettiene, is the all-tar rally, your experience, of course, of it as well, is it an underestimated event? Because it can be quite a car breaker, which you think, okay, it's on tarmac, it's in a familiar setting, it's not on the gravel, and then you find a lot of crews don't actually finish the rally because it can be quite tough at the best of times, which you don't expect.
Yeah, I think that's something where the rally aspect basically comes back into the play. Patience. It's not one in the first stage where you would have a circuit race and you just go, okay, hit that apex, hit that apex, hit that apex, and you're basically done. You're either fast or you're not fast. But with the all-tar, for example, you've got everything that we basically have in, say, 3 or 4 kilometers on a rally. We just repeat that on an all-tar. And for us, it's for a rally driver, a professional rally driver, if I may call, it's discipline for us to go and do an all-tar because we know all the factors that can go wrong. If you break it a little bit later, there's no runoff. There's a pit wall. Or there's Dirkie Kruger's garage, or there's one of the toilets in the back lane that we've hit nearly. So, I mean, on an all-tar, I've pretty much nearly hit anything that's standing still, but I never hit it because I know what the consequences is. It's end of the rally. So I think that's where anybody that will basically, whether it's a Gymkhana individual, whether he's a professional Gymkhana driver or track driver or whatever the case may be, if they do it all-tar, just take it to the end and promise you'll get your trophy. You don't always have to win, but it's basically getting it to the end of the stage and pacing yourself and thinking that if you hit that pit wall, there's no runoff after that pit wall. That's basically standing there and, your crew will come and fetch you. And I think that's when 90% of the guys break or they get excited, which I also get, but, I just tend to not get 10 out of 10 excited. I get about 9 out of 10 and I still tend to make it. I mean, we had wrong place, wrong speed, everything on all tars before, and we tend to, we always got out of it, but purely because I think it's out of experience, where we are getting 5,000 different kind of scenarios on a rally, for example, but on a track you only got 1 or 2 scenarios, or situations that happen. But on a rally, you've got so many things that happen in 2 days that doesn't happen in people's lifetimes. And just by that happening, you build up such a immune to, if something goes wrong, you know what to do. Doesn't always tend to work out like that, but it's 90% of the time it does. The rally teaches you so much discipline, and you get experience and moments where you would not get in life. I promise you that. And that makes you stronger and faster and more reliable on any form of motorsport, for sure.
Absolutely. I think you got to contend with many more things as a rally driver as compared to another form of motorsport. And that's quite interesting. Sure. Just coming back to your shocks, I'm not sure if it's a secret, but the 4 settings or the 4 stuff that you had on there, can you talk about it? What were they, or what are they, or what? I mean, if you're not allowed to talk about it, it's fine. But I mean, if you are, just maybe enlighten us a little bit.
I was going to send someone the link here to the, let's go, paste. There we go, paste, YouTube. Look, there's 3 or 4 settings for sure. And on each setting, there's 15 settings, to put it that way.
Phew.
So, yeah. So you can choose 15. So it's 45, 30, 15, 30, 45 settings, basically. You can run 60 settings. You can run per shock. So you get your high speed, you get your low speed, you get your damping, you get your bottles, which your shocks run off. That has to be set, high speed, low speed. So it once again, it comes out of, people do not understand those shocks. You would not understand. I can tell you any lie now, you won't understand it. Or I can even tell you exactly what's standing in the book next to me. It won't make sense, because literally from 1, it's soft. 15, it's hard. So you would choose between 1 and 15 on the top right clicker, and there's 4 clickers per shot on mine that I had. So there's a lot of settings that you can do. You can change every corner as per what you need and what you are going to use. So basically, depending on how many dips we had, you have to basically, to put it in a good perspective, you have to find a happy medium. It's a long, fast rally, so on stage, you need to have downforce, for example. So you don't have a massive wing that you can adjust, or things like that. You have to play with your suspension. So, do you want to create drag? Do you not want drag? Do you want understeer? Do you want oversteer? Do you want understeer, oversteer? If you hit the dip on those long straights, which was majority, would you be able to hit it on 6 gear, 200 odd plus kilometers and fly until whenever? Or do you want it for the 20 or 30 smaller dips and the sharper corners where you want more traction? So it basically comes down to finding a happy medium on your vehicle. But once again, my car, your car, Byron's car, anybody's car is different, and my driving style and what I want and how I plan my rally is different to every driver, for sure.
It's very complicated, eh? If you think about a rally car, I mean, you got, like I said, you got to contend with a hell of a lot of stuff. Sure.
No, for sure, for sure.
Byron?
No, and as well, another thing as well I would take as well with the works teams is that different compounds of tires throughout an event, different, softer, harder, so on, whilst a budget guy would probably only have a limited amount of sets and a limited compound to contend with.
Yeah, for sure. Look, in South Africa, we didn't really have the option of going soft, medium, or hard. It's more an international, let's call it a feature. We also only had, if you wanted to buy 10 tires per event, then so be it, then you buy 10 tires. But there was always I think in the end, there was actually a limit as to how many tires you can actually use, and you had to use them wisely. So it's really whoever had the biggest budget that helped in a very small manner. I mean, there was people with extreme money, and they've never won a championship. So it's not to do with, but it doesn't help you for sure. For testing and all those kind of things, definitely I would say that. But does it make you win championship? I don't think so. Definitely not.
You know, the guys with the extreme money, they were actually they should have been a bit more clever. They could have just paid you to drive the car, and they were the one the car would have won the championship. So they didn't.
yeah, we had some of those investors for sure. If it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't have the championships, you know, because you still need. There's a lot behind the scenes that people do not understand that cost a hell of a lot of money. You know, you need professional individuals to prep your vehicle, and nobody really has that, you know, because 90% of the guys have got, you know, I know this guy that works at Toyota at the N1 City, for an example, Peter Vermaak. He's a very good mechanic, and you know, he can help you on weekends, but it's not someone that, you know, the factory teams have that's qualified engineer on shocks, a qualified engineer on this, a qualified engineer on that part of the vehicle. And yes, I mean, that does win championships, engineers for sure, because you as a driver only contribute 50%. If your car is not 100%, you cannot win a championship. It's physically impossible. I mean, I can have the newest tires, I can have every race a new motor, that would not change any outcome of any championships for sure. So you need the guys, if you want to be in the top for sure, you need the engineers on the top level to basically, you know, to keep you there, you know.
And you as a driver obviously have to give them enough
feedback.
And correct feedback for them to set the cars up accordingly. Otherwise, it's just you're just basically working in the dark.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's like I always, if I was interviewed on any program or in the old days, you know, they would ask me, "Are you the best?" And I would say, "Shit, I'm fast, but I'm definitely not the best," because there's a lot of guys outside there that cannot give feedback. You know, it's not whether you can talk or you can't talk. Is if you don't understand the suspension and the setup and what needs to be done, you cannot give the proper feedback. I mean, it's very difficult. And, you know, we were taught that from a young age at karting. We'll just say, "Yo, Dad, the car does this and the car does that," and they know exactly what we mean. Yeah. And that's how in years you basically learn the language of, you know, setting up a vehicle and saying what needs to be said, and not over complicated thing for sure.
Yeah.
Baie interessant soos hulle sê. Just, you know, rally tires used to always intrigue me because, I mean, you can't take a set of, I mean, you know, you take a normal road tire and you go and take a Sunday afternoon drive and you end up on a farm road, and you just realize that the road tires don't have sufficient grip on those gravel roads. What is the difference? I mean, what causes that amazing grip with a rally tire? What is it designed differently, or what is it? How does it work?
Look, obviously the knobbies are completely different. It looks like a motocross bike tire. You know, if a lot of people don't know rally tires, it basically looks like a knobby motocross tire, and it's shaped in a way that it's supposed to work. But once again, you need the right tire pressures. You need the right, you know, angles of or setup on suspension. It comes back to, once again, if you didn't have the best rally tires, but if your suspension isn't worked or set up right, your caster, your camber, your toes, and all those kind of things, you're not going to have the grip, you know. That's so knobbies can only give you so much, and then setup comes back. It's always, everything comes back to setup. Whether you want your top speed, whether you want understeer, oversteer, whether you want traction, whether you don't want traction, whether you're going to get too much wheel spin or you want to contribute to this factor or that factor. It all comes down to setup. So yes, does rally tires help us? For sure. We would not do the tricks that we call it tricks that if we didn't have those tires, for sure. It does give us 50% more confidence, but you need the backup to help them basically do their job for sure.
And look at this last weekend. Look at this last weekend now with the Safari Rally. That is the ultimate tire killer. You know, when you see tires shredded right down to the belt.
Literally.
And completely and utterly destroyed. We're talking about some of the most expensive tires on competition cars, and it's no match for an event. You know, there's a rock somewhere placed, and it can easily happen. You know, it's amazing, and you know, it's always a surprise.
No, I mean, there's a lot of times when, and it's not cheap for the tires also, you know, and we would go into a stage and it'll be, say, example, 22 Ks, and there would be nothing left from a tire. It'll just be metal. It'll just be the basically the metal strings hanging on the tires. Then your team, or, you know, when you semi-privateer, that won't happen because you're not pushing so hard for sure. But if you're pushing for the lead or you're pushing for championships, that tends to happen quite often. So But you also need to spare your tires for certain stages that's more rough, and you can't go too soft on your tire pressure, then your tire goes off the rim through certain corners. So you have to find a happy medium for sure on your tire pressures. But also you can't go too hard, because with the traction and the wheel spin and the this and the that. Mr. Faisal, how are you?
We were talking about him earlier on.
He used to ask me a lot of questions. How do you do that? How do you do that? What do you say there? What do you say? I said, yeah, just do that. Just do that. So, but so if you go too hard on your tire pressure, obviously with the friction and the tearing and the acceleration and the braking, the temperature in the tire picks up quite a lot. So you would start maybe at 1.7 or 1.8 or whatever the case may be, but you're not going to end on that tire pressure. You're going to be 2.7, 2.8, and then it's two different walls. You glide over the road from left to right, and you may just hold on.
I mean, I'm just thinking now. I mean, like I said, coming from a circuit racing background, a rally setup. I mean, if your car had the worst engine in a rally car, but you had the perfect setup, you'd probably be very successful in a rally car.
Well, that's what happened when we actually came back. I said to Patrick, look, it was just for fun. We had good sponsors for sure, and we were grateful for them when we came back into the Witzenberg Championship. But we had a standard motor. We had a stock standard motor. It wasn't blueprinted. It wasn't balanced. Basically the same thing. There was no pistons done. There was no rings. There was no cams. There was no nothing. Standard radiator. Stock standard vehicle, stock standard gearbox, and we won the championship twice, after coming back, I think after 7 years. So a lot of people never believed us, and then, there was always little rally groups and stuff, and then I'll just post the dyno sheet on, and they're like, it's not yours. And I was like, it's my face behind it, standing right there, with the newspaper and the date, so that I can't bullshit to people, and I just couldn't believe it. But a lot of people believed, because it's experience, people, you can't take experience away from people, for sure.
Absolutely. When are you going to, open up your rally school and start teaching people? You got so much information in that brain of yours. I mean, there's so many youngsters that can learn so much. I mean, maybe op die plaas ergens moet jy net 'n stukkie rally, have a small rally school and start teaching the guys. I mean, it'd be so interesting.
Yeah. If they bring their own cars, they can come. It's fine. It's not going to have my toys.
No.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of it.
Abdul, that car that you went to go fetch there by Motorsport in 1976, no?
Yeah, 19. I wasn't so early. It was 1980 odd.
Oh, 1980. So it's no. There's a lot of things. It'll teach the kids, any grown man, anything. I mean, there's no driving schools in South Africa really. Well, I wouldn't say in South Africa, depending on what you want to do. But doing the advanced course at Killarney or Kailami, it teaches you certain things. But when you're driving 100, when does an accident happen? When you're driving 40 or 50, it doesn't happen. You can avoid those things. And if you don't avoid it, you can just leave your steering wheel. You won't die anyway. But on high speed, people tend to, get hurt on the public roads on high speeds. And I'm not saying I can teach you basically what to do, what happens then, but I can give you an idea of what to kind of do, to counter steer to there or to there. But once again, each scenario and each thing that happens basically changes.
Absolutely.
It's every geval is anders. So
situation, every scenario is different.
So I won't be able to teach someone to to get through his daily routine on the main road, because that's quite impossible. Because I look out about 30 places prior to me even just going left. So, and I actually drive very slow on the tar road or on the normal road. I actually got a fine the other day. I was 70 in the 60 zone. That was terrible. But
oh my word,
that was very bad. But getting into rally and getting into the Gymkhana and things like that, it takes the kids off the street, and any grown man off the street that wants to do something else, it teaches him discipline, or her, especially on the Gymkhanas. You must be wakker to try and even get through a Gymkhana stage. We've done it once or twice, and it's not easy. It's not. Way too much thinking in a short distance, and it's not for me. So, and Patrick talks, and it's a lot of information, but it's a good place to start, to get car control, and to basically do something legal,
Yeah.
Get to the Gymkhana or get to the rally sprints and stuff like that. Enjoy it. Your family can go.
Exactly.
And you can do pretty much whatever you want to, and you won't get into trouble, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And with that, you would have a lot of guys that will say, but listen, do this or do that, so you get advice as well.
Ek lag nou so because I'll tell you why. Because the very first Gymkhana I did, I remember it was in Ceres. So me and my brother, we rock. I don't know if you were there, Byron. So it's the first time ever I'm doing a Gymkhana.
A while back.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I think after the third cone or the second cone, we were lost. Because everything happens so quickly. I mean, you just put your foot down and you're by the next cone. You don't know if you must go left or right or you don't know what you're doing. But it was fun. Because I must say, in hindsight, I listened to Patrick and I took his advice. And it's been a long journey since then, but it's been much different as well.
Yes, anyhow, for sure.
No, it's very interesting. And anyhow, coming back to the rally car. What else can we talk about, Byron, regarding the prep of the rally car there? So, talking about the car, yes, the tires, the suspension setup, all those things. Obviously, you stripped the car down. We spoke about all those things. So, you and your navigator, do you guys also have a get together before the race and discuss certain things? Do you get your pace notes before the time? Do you prepare that as well?
Yeah, so in the old days, we never used to get pace notes. That was more in the modern days. But then obviously in the modern days we used to get DVDs. So in the old days we never got that. So in the old days we went blind into a rally. We're on the last, I would say 10, 15 years or 15 years. Basically got DVDs from Leon Buerta, and he would basically say, sorry, my wife is just keeping our fire alive over here.
That's fine. It's fine.
That's good.
That's the whole idea. Tell her 5 more minutes and we're done.
We'll 5 minutes then, eh? She just goes sharp. But so it's look, you can sit for days and days. It's not really going to help you. I tend to go through a DVD of the rally, and when my dad will ask me, so did you if you got it? I was like, yeah, and then an hour later they would ask me a question. I was like, no idea what you're talking about. But when I start in front of the stage and I stand at the start line, then it's like, and then I'll ask Patrick, like, what is the first corner? And they're like, you'll see it's left. And then I know it's and then I've got the stage. So I tend to forget things, but if I'm put into the situation where I need to perform, then I tend to remember it. So but yes, you get the DVD, you'll work through it, you'll make your own adjustments, you'll make your own notes and things like that, where the notes will say, example, medium 5 or left 5 into right 8, and we'll say, no, it's more left 4, left 3 into a right 6 or something like that, and that's where some navigators and drivers work better with each other, because whatever I see, Patrick automatically sees it prior to the event, so he can make his notes basically on what he's looking at, and he'll know that I'll be able to adjust on that notes for sure.
Okay, because Patrick sent me a DVD the other day about Sammy. You remember Sammy?
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Sammy!
No. No, if it was like that, we will not be in the sport for sure. No.
Byron, you have a question?
No, I think it's Ashfaq over here now. So how many mistakes has Patrick made?
It's always the navigator, by the way. It's never the driver.
For sure. It's always the nav. To be honest, I actually lost count after our first season, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He gave us a lot of championships after that. So you would find in any top team, in any top team in the world, whether it's on a professional scale or non-professional, if you look at Sebastian Loeb, Peter Solberg, all those boys, Sebastian Ogier, they still make mistakes. So I don't think, Janil in the Dakar, him and his nav, they're top team, they make mistakes. I think if you don't make a mistake, there's something wrong. Someone's lying to someone, because there's no human that's perfect. But was Patrick a good navigator? For sure, he was one of the best. He might not be the smallest guy, but he was sure as hell. He would always clock in at the right time, and he would give you the perfect advice. Don't do this, don't do this. So he's more of a teacher, friend. He was basically everything, to me on rally. And that's how we won our championships, basically.
I was just listening to you talking about Sebastian Ogier. He won the WRC on the
last
Safari,
race now,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, what an unbelievable race. I mean, and those little Yaris's, they fly. I mean, those cars are set
there's
up.
nothing wrong with their setup for sure.
Absolutely brilliant.
No, it's unfortunate for Thierry Neuville with Hyundai as well with the suspension. It just, the thing about the Safari, and these guys have learned the hard way now, is that yes, it's a car breaker, even though the format has changed to a much more of a special stage way of doing things. Things still happen, and he looked like he was going to win the event. He was on the way to it.
I thought he was actually going to win.
And that last little bit. No.
Yeah, well, if he drove it out, it would have lasted, but unfortunately, they were not. I mean, we'll say money to just by the way.
For sure.
Okay, we're done. We have a couple of minutes left, 1 or 2 minutes, right? Maybe in closing, just I don't know. Baden, what do you want to? Some closing questions you want to ask Ettiene there?
Maybe what does the future hold for Ettiene? I know the last time Ettiene, of course, before an accident, of course, you competed in 2018. I think you were telling us off air. What does the future look like?
It's looking on a professional scale. That's done. I won't be able to compete anymore, obviously, after my accident. Sad for sure, because I really want to come back, and we did, come back on a small scale, and we won again. And did that make us want more? Yes, for sure. But unfortunately, with the accident, there was too much damage done to me, so I won't be able to take the impact for sure on any scale of motorsport, whether it's track racing, just local clubmans, or Polo Cup, or GTC, or professional rally, or anywhere in the world. Because I was actually talking to, I basically had majority done for a team to join the rallycross in Finland just prior to my accident. And a lot of teams, sponsors, there was a couple of guys in line, and it was basically a set deal. And then obviously the accident happened. So I kind of lost majority of my future on that accident. It is what it is. Would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again for sure, because I did stunts for 18 years. So I won't change anything. I don't regret it for sure. But do I miss my sport? Yes, I miss it a lot. And I would probably do a event in the future, but definitely not in the next 4 to 5 years. Definitely not, because nothing is fast yet. So it's all still hanging there. Yeah.
Would a Gymkhana have the same impact on your body? I mean,
for me, driving on a day-to-day in my Hilux, it's sore. So
yeah, I can understand. So imagine, I mean, with the forces, even in a Gymkhana car, the left to right, the handbrake turns, the 180s, the 360s, it puts
it comes down to G-force. A lot of people think, but you're just driving there, you're doing this, doing that, if you want to do it. And that's the other thing, is I can't really compete to just be there kind of thing, We've competed in so many events over 20 to 30 years. It's 30. It would have been 30 years now today, or today. No, the 15th of July. It would be 30 years in motorsport. Where it's every form of motorsport, whether it's karting or Gymkhana, it takes a different toll on your body for sure. But unfortunately, with what I broke on my back and things like that, I can't take any impact. So for me, walking, it hurts. So definitely, would I do it in the soon future? I don't know. I don't think so. But I'll definitely go and support and help the guys where I can for sure.
No, that's brilliant. But there's a couple of last minute comments there.
Quite a number coming through here. I don't know wat Niels van Wyk weer derde nou wat nou. Kom ry weer iets, die snoek byt mos nie. Heel jaar nie.
I know Darren wanted to start his car several times, but he's also a very good driver for sure. Like all the guys outside there. I think each guy is a good driver in his own caliber. But the sport needs more old, young. It's look, if you want to go play, go play. I think it's good
Absolutely.
for the sport, and it's good, it's good fun for sure.
And then there's another one there from Faisal. What's happening with your cars and spares? No, Ettiene.
They are cleaned. You can see it's a David's because it's new Ettiene or something. Knee spares, knee Ettiene. They are all cleaned and they are in the shelf and they are standing right there, just being happy. They're their happy place for sure.
With a lock on it as well, too, Faisal. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Faisal.
Okay, the fire is running out there behind Ettiene. I can see. I can't see, but I can foresee. So Byron, just in there we can see.
There we go. There we go. Nice.
Just in closing, Byron, anything you want to just add to the pot before we say bye?
No. It's just of course, thanks Ettiene for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
What I always find in motorsport is the valuable input from many, about the various aspects of whether it be setting up, a rally car or, just the mindset of a driver or anything like it. It's always it's a valuable thing. And it's also a big thank you as well to the viewers for their comments and enjoying the show tonight. And I think, we look forward to it again. When can we do this again? And more.
Yeah. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have Andrea Bait on from Powerflow Exhaust to discuss exhausts, because that's another contentious issue. And everybody thinks bigger, better. And you know what? I don't think it works bigger, better.
No. Not in that case, no.
Yeah. In exhaust case, I'm talking about not the mouth. But,
thanks, Abdul.
So that's going to be an interesting topic as well, because that's important. I mean, we're going to learn quite a bit, like we learned from Ettiene tonight. And Ettiene, thank you so much. Really, it's you like an
thank you for having me. Yeah.
I mean, jy kan aan. Jy kan nog 2 uur praat. I mean, because there's so much information that you've learned over the time. And I mean, who knows? Maybe we can get you on the show again in a couple of months' time, couple of weeks' time. We talk about a different aspect of rallying again. Okay, so thank you so much for you and your family, Ettiene, for giving up your time. I know it's valuable family time. It's a pleasure. It was a really nice having you on the show. And thanks to all the viewers out there I know it's baie koud buite kan en reën lekker. So, the right place to be was just with your cell phone in the bed and watch the program. It would have been very interesting. And so all the best, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time. I know Patrick and Clint are having a show next week. I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure what the topic is. But just, you guys can just check on Facebook, and on our YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just get the notifications there every week or so on what's happening. And all the best for you guys, and have a wonderful evening. And thanks to the sponsors once again, and all the viewers. And bye, Jelle, and all the best. Bye, dankie, Ettiene. And bye.
Dankie, Jelle. Thanks, Abdul. Thanks, Byron. Have a good evening.
Alles van die beste. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next thing I'm Shaquille O'Neal.